does that mean that the capacity charge or income for those particular plants will decline in 2017? The second question is about the projects which you have. Maybe you could just give us a bit of insight in terms of the financing pipeline between 2017 and 2019, and how much additional debt you will take up between this period. And then thirdly, as shareholders, I think one of our main concerns is how much income comes to us in terms of dividends. What does that mean in terms of the dividend policy during this period?
Good morning, Gregory Wawero from SPG Securities. Just one question. Could you perhaps, you've mentioned that the hydrology levels are getting lower, but could you perhaps give us an indication of where the reserve margin currently stands, and to what extent do you expect to use thermal to the extent possible to compensate for the declining levels in your reservoirs? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Edward, for the wonderful question. And in our presentation, in Albert's presentation, there's actually a slide. Let me take us there. That slide, in column 2, we have indicated the financials that we are at different levels of discussion with. Our Carrier 5 is completely financed. We signed around $370 million with JICA. All Carrier 1 Unit 6 again is fully financed. We have around $70 million balance from JICA, and the EIB is giving around $124 million. As part of that, some contribution from KfW. All Carrier 1 and 4 topping plant, we are working with around $110 million. And we are in advanced discussion with KfW and AFDB, African Development Bank. And then the modular unit, that's the 47. This is should be coming around $100 also million, just around that number. And we are doing this as EPCF. EPCF means that engineer, procure, and construct, but also bring the financing. But we are also having discussions to later convert this into financing through World Bank. But definitely after we've gone through all the processes, if we find good numbers coming in, otherwise later there is opportunity for it to be guaranteed later with World Bank. On Carrier 1 rehab, that's again a number around $110 or so million. I need to confirm that number. Around $200 million around there. And JICA is keen on that project. We're actually currently working on a feasibility study just to reconfirm it, but that's going to be a JICA finance project. The other two, which is Carrier 6 and Carrier 7, the PPPs, of course, as we've indicated there, we'll do those through the public-private partnership and go through an open procurement process as time goes by. But definitely the ones that are ahead, we are at advanced stage of discussion with the various financiers. So those numbers all added together, and part of it also KenGen is playing a role, because there is also the administration costs, there is the infrastructure costs, there's drilling costs that KenGen has already incurred. Those projects should cost us something around $2 billion. And the big chunk is coming through KenGen. Part of it which was also financed already and paid for using Exim funds, Exim Bank of China. Thank you.
Thank you, Wanagitao and Gregory, for the questions. And I will answer the question on hydrology. So hydrology has to do with the fact that we have two main areas where the hydro is generated. One is along the Tana River, what we call the Seven Forks. And on that area, or in that place, we have got 5 major stations. And we have what you call the upper reservoir at Masinga, which holds a lot of water that runs on the 5 stations. The maximum level for that dam is 1056.5 meters above sea level. And we say that by the time we get to 1037 meters above sea level, then the Masinga station, which is a bit small, would stop generating, and then you let the water go to the other stations. But what we've done is to manage this water very well, so that to take us right through to the long range in April. And this is a program that we've been doing together with the Ministry of Energy and the other key stakeholders, together with the other main dam in Takwel, which when full would be at 1150 meters above sea level, and the minimum operating level is at 1105 meters above sea level. Now the assurance that I can give now is that both those dams, by the way, our management team and gets the reports on those dams every day, first thing in the morning. So like this morning, I was looking at the Masinga dam level, is at 1042.3 meters above sea level. That means we are still more than 5 meters above the lowest level that we can go of 1037. Takwel, we are also 5 meters above the 1105 because we are at 1110. And if you look at the way we've planned, the energy that we're getting from there, we want that to be able to take us to the time of the long range. So I would like to say that the capacity that we are able to get from there is not changing. It does not change the amount of revenue that we get from there, because those plants are on capacity payments. And as long as we give the amount of energy that we can provide from there, the hydrology risk does not come to us. So we do not expect that this will affect the way our results will look like at the end of the year, because we'll get all the money that's associated with that. And in any case, that capacity is well managed by all stakeholders. It's not really just KenGen. We say we have got this much, let's use it in this kind of way. And because the power system is so well balanced right now, we have geothermal, we have a bit of thermal that comes in, then we are not seeing any problem. And therefore, to answer the next question is about the reserve. And that reserve has been maintained because of that generation mix. So when the hydro capacity is reduced somewhat, the geothermal is stepped up, and the thermal is also there, of course, as an emergency, and therefore we have sufficient reserve to meet the capacity of the demand that is required by the users of electricity. So we don't really have an issue to be worried, whether as KenGen or as the nation as a whole, because there is a good supply balance. Now the last question, which is to do with dividends, I would ask our chairman to come and make a statement on that.
Normally the dividend is the elephant in the room, and thank you. Let's put everything first of all in perspective. You've looked at our cash flows. So for sure, KenGen is not struggling financially. But we are a responsible board, and our responsibility is to grow the wealth of our shareholders. So looking at the pipeline of projects that we have and looking at our financing, what is in the best interest of our shareholders at this point in time? We know our dividend policy is 1/3 retained earnings, 1/3 tax, and 1/3 as dividends. But we have to be dynamic in our decisions. And also, we have to look at the mix of our shareholders. With PIC coming in, most of our investors will actually be institutional investors. And these investors are looking at long term. So we have to be sensitive to both the institutional investor who is looking at long-term investment and the retail investor who wants short-term returns in form of dividends and so on. You've heard about the issue of the compensating tax. If it was not for the support of our ministry and a listening ear in Treasury, we would have had that hole of 2.4 just because we paid dividends that triggered the compensating tax. So we are taking all those into consideration as we make a decision on whether to pay dividends or not. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is James Gomeli, consulting the energy sector. My question is the oversupply. I think by the end of the year we'll have more than 1,500 extra megawatts. Are you given priority in the whole game? Secondly, the industrial park. I believe you have just mentioned your best interest is to the shareholder. I believe you should be able to sell your power directly to the customers. That's where we'll get the best value for our shares. So what's the role of the industrial park in the whole game? Thank you.
My name is Andrew Amadi. Related to the question that has just been asked about the industrial park and selling directly to consumers, particularly large commercial users. Ethiopia announced that they are selling electricity at 3 cents per kilowatt hour to the cement industry. Is there a response that can be possible, for example, using the hydros to sell directly to the cement industry in Kenya, and how will they be able to compete in such an environment?
Thank you again for the questions, James. You asked about the oversupply and whether we get priority, and the answer is no. What happens is that all the plants that we have, except for the wellhead units or the wind, are on capacity payment. So as long as we make our plant available, we get paid. Then the off-taker determines how to dispatch that plant. So as we put in the plant, it takes care of the way the rising demand is looked at. And I don't think we should get very scared that by the end of the year we'll have about 1,000 or more, because in our discussions at the ministry, we also understand that there are people that have come in and they are showing the interest in putting up some factories that will take quite a bit of demand. And clearly you don't want to be caught up in a situation where we were some years back, where the demand was way above the supply. So in terms of putting this capacity, it's really the fact that the comfortable position where we are today, we don't want to go back to that time when every time power rationing was happening. So we're not worried about the oversupply because it's a very short-term thing, and with time we will be able to pick up. But in any case, many power systems that are stable, whether it's in the developed world or the middle-income nations, have a good reserve capacity for as much as 30%. So we need to have that so that we can assure the factories and other users of continued supply. Industrial park, we are really looking forward to this time when we can sell power directly to the large consumers. And we know and we are aware that the current electricity bill that should have been law already, except that it was returned to Senate or Parliament after it went to the President for assent because of one or two things, and it's now being discussed, does allow for power supply generators to sell power directly to the large consumers. So we're looking forward, and we've prepared a place in our carrier for that. We've done a feasibility study. We have identified a site that we think is suitable. And as we may have mentioned in times gone by, we have two reasons that we want this industrial park next to us. One is to supply electricity directly. The other one is to supply steam, because there's some industries that require steam for their processes, and we have steam readily available at our carrier. We use most of the very high temperature steam for generating power, but there is still some energy that can be extracted even after power generation that factories can use. And we are really looking forward to this. We're working with the Ministry of Industrialization and Trade in terms of how to make this happen. We've made a lot of consultations. We've made a number of visits with CS Aden Mohammed to Okaria, and so it's a matter of time before we see this happening. Ethiopia, Andrew, you asked, and the 3 US cents. That's a very difficult question for me. And I always say this. The first time I visited Egypt, I was very surprised when we went to the petrol station and found that the cost per liter on their super was at equivalent of 20 shillings per liter. When here in Kenya, the cost was about 100 shillings. Now, clearly, you can see that in as much as we may talk about competition in energy supply, it really depends a lot on the resources that you have to provide that energy. So you can imagine then if somebody is in Egypt and is being given his fuel at 20% of what that fuel costs here, it doesn't matter what you do. And you had, for example, Julius Riongo here, who is a generator in Savo Power, and he runs a power station next to us at Kipevu, which is a diesel plant. So if a diesel plant is going to cost 4 or 5 times what it costs in Egypt, that's our input, and so our product will really go according to that. And that is always the debate that comes in when we talk about providing power at the same level as other places. That's number one. Number two, we're also aware that some countries, there's a big subsidy to their production, and Ethiopia is one such country where they give subsidies, because clearly the 3 US cents is probably below the production cost, but the government, in whatever way, is able to subsidize that. So it's very difficult, therefore, then to be able to say that for Kenya, we can give, like KenGen can give power at 3 US cents per kilowatt hour, because clearly that is below our production cost. And there's no way today, as I stand here, we can tell shareholders that you give us money, we install a power plant which will generate, let's say, at 6 US cents per kilowatt hour, and sell that power at less than the US 6 cents. I think you'll all come for your money and say we don't want to invest in that company. So it's always a bit of a difficult situation. And as I said, geothermal currently is the least cost way of producing power, and that's why we are focusing there, because then we can look at the cost of the debt, the equity return that you need from us, and based on that, we can fix the tariff that is really the best that you can get. And unless the economy has a way of subsidizing that cost, we may not be able to compete with this 3 US cents per kilowatt hour. I think that's the way I would answer that, and there's a lot of debate around there, and as you know, different countries meet this objective in different ways. But in some debates we have had, and sorry to say this because it's a little controversial, it's always been that when you look at a country like Japan, I don't know whether you're aware that the cost of electricity in Japan for quite some time was actually higher than the cost of electricity in Kenya. But in their own way of working and their efficiencies, they would still manage to produce competitive goods. But that's a debate for another time when we are together and we can discuss about the economies of production and all that. Sometimes it's a bit difficult. But suffice it to say that for now, we are producing power from the best sources that we can, and then we sell it to the off-taker, who then gives to the power consumers. And when we get the window, we will be able to sell directly then to the larger industries, and those will probably have a little less cost than maybe the others who go through some other routes. So thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Edwin Chui from Diane Blair. The presentation was actually pretty good. So just for the sake of discussion, I want to ask, number one, we've seen forecasts that indicate the long range may not be sufficient. The is there any worry that that will change your outlook, especially on hydrology levels? And then number two, we saw a media report last year to the effect that the government may move into some sort of an auction model. Does that pose any risk to your market share?
Hydrology again, and I can appreciate why this is a concern. And as I mentioned earlier, we get those reports every morning because of the concern, and we have opportunities to discuss. What about the long rains, if they fail? We are using our water very carefully. And we believe that even if the long rains are not sufficient, we have faith and we live on hope anyway, that the rains will not fail completely. Because you can imagine as a nation, looking at what we're going through, and you watch the television as I do, you've seen the animals, the people, a lot of, really terrible things in terms of drought. So our hope is that the rains will come, and even if not as much as would normally be the case, we should be able to replenish our dams to some level. Of course, as you know, the short rains in November, they were very, very short, extremely. Only some part of November was wet. And so Masinga, instead of filling up to the 1056.5, we only reached 1050, just about 1053. So more than 3 meters short of the full supply. So even during the long rains, if they are sufficient, we'll fill the dam and we'll be spilling by May, end of June. Should they not be enough, and we come back to a level like 1052 point something or 1053, that would be okay because it can take us together, as I said, with the mix that we have, it can take us through to the next, season of the rains. And we hope that there will not be a conspiracy of nature to then also have the short rains fail. So we have to have hope that it will not be that bad. And the way we are managing it, we are managing it in such a way that we will not get to a time where the hydros will stop producing. So we can have some assurance on how to do it. The auction that was announced by the ministry related to the renewables, which currently were under the policy of the feed-in tariff. And as you know, the feed-in tariff fixed some costs. For example, the solar has been at 12 US cents per kilowatt hour. The wind at about 10 US cents per kilowatt hour. The geothermal at 8.8 US cents per kilowatt hour. So what the ministry then said was this: look, we understand that the prices for solar, even for wind, are coming down. There is no point of saying we are bringing the cost of electricity down and then having a fixed cost of 12 US cents per kilowatt hour for the solar. We might as well, test the market by auctioning and asking people, at what cost would you bring this in? So that is how the auction related. So it really does not affect us. And perhaps when that happens, as you know, currently we don't have any solar, we will also participate in the auction so that it can enable us to bring some of these sources that we do not have currently. Okay. Yeah.
All right, let's give Albert a round of applause as we welcome Frank back to the stage. Welcome, Frank, and thank you all for coming.